You have gathered us here today
I have.
with the birds. Thank you for organizing them.
I had to call to them this morning through my window, kind of like Snow White. And they all came and they're like, okay, this is what's going on. This is the hour.
Be there at
And they
5.
all showed up.
I went to the Blue Pyramid. It's been my go-to since I mentioned it last time. There's a pyramid I go to, and it has this illuminated blue top, and it shoots this giant light into the sky. I mean, the cheap visualization of that is like the Vegas thing, except this is stone, and it feels not commercial. It feels like there's no agenda with it. It's like some sort of power source, and then I just put us all in the blue beam and all of our teachers with it.
That was my next question is, where in this pyramid are you?
I'm in it, I'm around it at the same time. There's times when I can visualize it in front of me to warm up, and then there's times when I'm putting myself in the center of it or just in the proximity. It's just a visualization of energy, so I don't think it is geometrically important.
Right.
You know, we had like 30 seconds to sit still, so.
Can you recall a time where, kind of what Michael just explained, where he's not just in one place in this vision, in this meditation in his mind. He's all around it, he's in it, it's breathing through him. Can you recall a time in this reality on this earth where you have had a moment like that, that really made you be like, whoa, am I actually here?
I can go, yes, and I don't think it was a good experience. I just kept floating in the darkness of space. It's like imagine you're inside the black hole and there's nothing there. Any similar experiences? Let's hear what Michael has.
I have thoughts and comments. It's not like I have answers. I thought, man, that sounds uncomfortable.
Very.
And then I thought, some people are comfortable in a deprivation tank. In my mind, if a person is committed wholeheartedly to the 5 senses, stepping out of the 5 senses is a free fall. It's like, well, what else is there? Where does this lead? What does it go to? And I've been thinking about the 5 senses a lot lately. We had this technician that used to work with us. He was a bit of a genius and a bit of a hard to, anyways. And he dislocated his shoulder at work turning off a light. He had had a car accident before and he reached wrong, and I was just like, are you kidding me? So I was the one that took him to all these places, and we ended up at the ER, and he was a hurting unit. He was in bad shape, and they couldn't relocate his shoulder, and they kept giving him more and more medicine to knock him out. But the science guy, he was so stubborn. He was analyzing it as he was going under. Oh, how many cc's did you give me? And this, the whole time, he was a scientist. And the doctor finally just went, boom, and knocked him out. And then the 2 guys, they tied him with the bed sheet to the thing, and they went hoink, and the shoulder went back in place. Even in delirium, he was committed to his scientific beliefs. He could not let go. It was not a place that he would ever feel safe enough, because he couldn't understand the math of it, the medicine of it, the science of it. And I was just like, this is how deep he is who he is. It doesn't go away. Some people, they're one person and then they have a drink or two, and there's people that are more playful when they've had alcohol, there's people that get bitter, there's something comes out, another version of themselves. And he was the same version, could not push it out of him. It was interesting. And that was like propofol knockout, which is heavy stuff. So 5 senses. Before I can go into this other thing, I was talking to my mom actually about cults and why certain people believed no matter what a certain way. And I was thinking, you know, there's people that know they're in a cult, they're living there, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm in this thing, but it's their truth for that moment. And then I thought, what if the majority of the population on this planet are in a cult, and it's the cult of the 5 senses, that we believe that that is the confinement of the real estate of the cult. That's the compound. It's not one person saying what to believe, but it's only believing the 5 senses. And anybody that steps out of that. I watch these famous science guys on TV, and they get so much authority because they can say all this math and all these things. And I benefit from science. I mean, look, right, the cameras, this and that. But science for spirituality is not where it is for me. I love the science that if I cut my hand, they know what to do to fix it. That's a beautiful thing. So I'm not a science denier. I'm just keep science in a certain place for my 5 senses. Science is great for dealing with that, and we're just starting to expand it. So I'm scared of some specific things.
Sharks.
Yes.
Actually?
Yeah.
Oh man, we gotta take Michael with
That's not-
shark diving.
No, that's not how I overcome it. It's,
Would you do it?
No.
Well,
In a cage.
he's
You're
gonna
in a
have a
cage.
yacht, and he's gonna
And a
stay on
diver,
the yacht.
and I say, you first. Then you go. That's our joke.
I'd do it.
No, the unknown, I fear certain sensory things. I fear the idea of substantial pain. It would be very uncomfortable. I've experienced that. I don't like it. And
Mental or physical?
Physical. Mental pain, I haven't had mental pain. I've had mental anger. I've had mental depression, and I've had mental exhaustion, but not hopelessness, not anything that laid up that heavy.
Is mental pain and emotional pain the same thing?
Well, I guess so. It's just putting words to
I'm just
something.
curious.
Emotional pain, a funny way of saying it is like mental pain could be not being able to figure something out. Like it just vexes you.
Yes.
Emotional pain, I was thinking of something like heartbreak, grieving, longing. So they're very similar, very similar. Different flavors of pain.
Anger is pain, depression is pain. It's all
Well-
forms of pain and to an extent, I think.
Well, a lot of people say anger is fear. And I say there's many times, yeah, but I think other times there's something else going on.
Sometimes anger helps you overcome fear.
Well, anger is a catalyst, get you moving. So, you asked, has there been an instance where I'd felt sort of beyond myself? And I think that the small version of that is music. That I've been absorbed in sound, whether it was really loud and moving through me, or it was just something that felt so much like I needed to reset my own rhythm. The dum, 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 dum. And I had this theory, the loud cars, I used to call them crickets. Like a cricket making noise is going to help them get laid. And so the cars that were really fancy, I used to call them spiff crickets, like because they're pimped. And I thought, why do some people need music that loud? And to the point where it's shaking, and I was like, they can't feel.
Yep.
It's the one thing that they can physically feel. They're numb. And so I thought, oh, this is what loud music is, because I've experienced that where sometimes I just want to turn up the music so much that it takes everything else away, pushes it away, that it creates this sound bubble for myself. Another time I went to Colorado after I closed my first business, and I thought I was going to move to Colorado. It didn't work out. I was driving along in these mountains and came upon this little stream. And so I said, well, I'll just meditate here. So I imagined myself laying in the stream with my head facing upstream. And I laid down in the water and I just let it purify me in my mind. I just let that water, it didn't just roll around me. I let it roll through whatever finer body of mine that I put in the water. And it was a great experience. That was something that I put myself into, to deliberately create that. I don't know involuntarily, other than my death experience in Africa, that I felt that really legit something else. And I think that some of my meditations skirt along something like that, but I always feel connected to something.
There's no up, down, left, right, it's just space.
Until you hit the turtles.
Right. And the whales.
And the whales.
All those things.
What came to my mind just then is that if my parents or somebody close to me had talked to me about things beyond the five senses, it would have been much easier for me to absorb and embrace other things that happened to me along my life that I kind of flickered away. And the dialogue just wasn't there for me. But imagine parents who were saying, I'm Catholic and you're in a Catholic house, so we practice Catholicism. But as you grow up, I would encourage you to decide and to experience the things that feel right to you and not be Catholic just because your parents are. If it feels right, then be that. Choose any religion. To have had that dialogue, to have given someone the freedom to accept these other things that may happen, I think would have been so liberating. So basically what I was trying to say is that it would have been wonderful to have had the space and the vocabulary provided at a young age. And then to be able to come home and say, hey, this happened to me. Do you know anything about it? Is this imagination or whatever? And instead of a parent coming back with some rules, and I think there's a lot of parents that try to make space for that, but they weren't given the space for that. There's outliers too, where there's people that they come from a certain environment and they are distinctly different than the environment that they came from. There's something within them that allowed them to write their own script differently. But I'm looking forward to traditional school systems being over. I mean, I think those have been broken a long time ago. In my mind, some of the teaching is broken. I went to Villa Montessori, and I think that was where I was allowed to think differently at a very young age. They let you learn at your own rate versus you're pushed through in a train car. I only went there through the 3rd grade, and that's as far as it went. I think my dad helped start that school. In manifestation stuff, when you've sat across some conversations with it, I would say that when your first thought is about how hard it is to make money, it's not an unrealistic statement, right? It's like you put in your time, and right now you're selling time, not solutions, right? But I'm saying that there's another way to attract synchronicities and opportunity for more wealth. At the moment, I would ask you, what do you do actively to engage in that modality of abundance thinking? I feel like you're not doing things. You'll talk about how hard it is to make money, but you won't freaking do anything. I'm pushing you.
Right. What is the example of doing anything? Doing something?
Catching yourself when you say that about money is so hard, because you feel it. I see you feel it. Heavy. It's like all of a sudden a weight comes on you, like I'll never own a house, I see all this never stuff, it just washes across you. In those instances, one of the things that can be done is to just recognize it. That it's like, okay, you don't have to stop it or break it or freeze it or just go, oh, somebody taught me this that didn't know another way, and I have decided to believe that. That's one thing. It's like, oh, this is this thing again, this damn thing again. So catch it. You can think poor or you can think rich, and it's the same tool that's doing it. The problem is being broke expresses itself very quickly to most people, but being wealthy and manifesting for a lot of people takes time. This tree, right?
Yeah.
I could have shouted at that tree when it was little to grow, grow, grow. No, the tree has its pace, right? I've planted many seeds for wealth a long time ago. You're looking to have that tree right now and shake the money tree, and I'm being dramatic again.
I see what you're saying.
So I'm saying you're not doing the work to change your thinking towards abundance. In what I've seen, now I don't have you all day. I have you in my orbit a certain amount of time, and you're doing great, and you do all these great things, and I see your strengths. And then you have the social life that you enjoy, but I don't see anything in there. I've never heard you come back from a weekend and say, oh, I meditated this weekend, or I did something. No, I played this, I raced the car, I did that. You're doing stuff that a guy your age likes to do. So the results will likely be very predictable unless you change that, is my thought. I'm pushing.
I want to argue the fact that if I was to meditate, there isn't a way that could help me make more money.
Your version of meditation is changing thought. Meditation isn't the actual physical sitting there. It's, are you thinking abundantly? And a lot of people would say, well, what's the point? People think, oh, I worked hard, I did all these things, but you can't tell what someone was thinking all the time.
I do think abundantly, often, because while I might not actually be wealthy financially, you know, or if I can help someone else, and like my friend is like sitting at home, I'm like, let's go out, get some food, and it's like, oh, I don't have money, I'm like, I got you, let's go, I don't care.
Oh, Pasha,
that's kind of where my thought process is. Like,
you are a highly generous person.
Is that not abundantly thinking to an extent?
It is, but the cross-manifestation aspect of it is there's a subconscious part of you that is thinking of lack, or that the only way you make money is through a certain pipe, then that hasn't been expanded. So if I were to put it in the material way, and I would say you're an employee at the business, this is just a material example, and you work your 40 hours or whatever it is. Instead of maybe sleeping less or not going out on the weekend, you say, I'm an entrepreneur and I want to use that time to start something else. And I remember seeing one of the Thursday's Q about you saying, what are you most hard on yourself about? You're like procrastinating. So in that way, it's just like, well, you didn't even trade the time to expand your abundance. You're waiting for me to give you a raise to have more money in the most simplest definable way, or for shapeshifters, to be very successful that I can just all of a sudden say, hey, here's 200 grand a year. I don't feel like you're making the space either for your side hustle business to do it with your hands and your skills, and you have a lot of skills. You're not even doing that. So where are you thinking abundantly, or I hear you wanting more, but this is the thing is that I would watch people say really remarkable things on the internet, and I would feel kind of like jazzed up about it a little
Motivated.
bit.
Like,
Yeah. 10 minutes later,
You're watching TV again, right?
yeah, it's like watching that guy exercise and I'm eating a cookie. I'm like, what did I just do? I didn't exercise. It's like buying a lot of books and never reading them.
It's those easy endorphins.
So that's me karate chopping on you about saying that meditating is symbolic of making space for a different type of thinking or a non-thinking. I would say just start with a different type of thinking as a meditation.